Formula One on 5 Live.
Hello and welcome to Las Vegas. We've been wanting to say that for a very long time. The last time Formula One raced here was in 1982. We've had to wait over 40 years, but Formula One is back, and back with a bang. We had an incredible opening ceremony yesterday evening, just wetting the whistle for what is to come as Formula One takes to the track and takes to the Strip. We are shutting down the Las Vegas Strip to watch Formula One cars race in anger. We're getting ready for the first practice session. The city is illuminated, the incredible landmarks, the Bellagio, Caesar's Palace, the Sphere, all lit up, and the drivers are going to weave their way around these incredible and iconic streets. I'm Rosanna Tennant, and I'm down in the pit lane, which is a hive of activity already. A lot of photographers and the world's media trying to get pictures and get a little sort of inside story on what's going on as the drivers get ready for the first practice session here under the lights in Las Vegas. And in the commentary box, I'm joined by former Formula One driver Jolyon Palmer, racing driver Alice Powell, and the BBC's chief F1 writer Andrew Benson. Jolyon, we have waited a while. There's been a lot of hype about this race weekend. Are you on the hype train? Are you enjoying your time in Vegas so far?
I think I am. It's a really odd place. It's my first time in Vegas, but I think I'm on the hype train. It's spectacular here. It really is. And this is why we're here. You know, I've been here for 48 hours, witnessed the madness of the city, but witnessing Formula One cars on this circuit, I think, will be something special.
And there has been, I hate to say it, a little bit of negativity as we've arrived here in Las Vegas. Some of the local residents kicking up a bit of a fuss that Formula One has essentially shut down their precious city. I mentioned we're going to close the Strip while the Formula One cars are out and about. Obviously, that's caused some logistics issues. Some of the drivers as well being a little bit negative. Max Verstappen, our reigning world champion and three-time world champion now, of course, in 2023, saying that this is all about the show and he wants to focus more on the performance. And Alice Powell, last night during the opening ceremony, we were watching the drivers being sort of brought up through hydraulics onto these lorries on the start-finish straight, waving, smiling. Max Verstappen didn't really enjoy it. And you said you can kind of empathise with the drivers when it comes to the sort of pomp and ceremony that goes with events like this.
I mean, yeah, I can, but I think they do understand. Like Fernando, for example, he understands that it's a big event, there's a lot of money involved, it's kind of got to be done. And he's come out and said as well that, you know, maybe they need to then adjust our media schedules if they want to try and add in, you know, stuff like an opening ceremony, etc. So I agree with him in that. Max, yeah, he said he just feels like a clown. It is totally unnecessary. But then Lewis Hamilton said he's loving it, and you know he enjoyed the ceremony last night. But actually, I just saw something online, and the Las Vegas sort of organisers have sort of hit back at Max and said, well, maybe he's just a little bit nervous about driving our track. So we'll wait and see. I don't think it's that, but we'll see.
Oh, there is a mixed bag, definitely, when it comes to the drivers' appetite for going racing here in Las Vegas. Some of them, of course, have been here many times to party, but it is business this weekend. And Daniel Ricciardo sort of saying the word sober over and over to me in the media pen yesterday, almost as a reminder to himself that, of course, it's all about the racing this weekend. It is not about the casino. It is not about the iconic landmarks of Las Vegas, of which I'm sure, Andrew Benson, you have been enjoying a lot of this weekend already. I know you've been out and about having a little look at what there is on offer in this city. But there are a lot of unknowns. The narrative has changed. We now know that the championships are wrapped up with Max taking the drivers, Red Bull taking the constructors. So in a way, when you're writing your articles for BBC Sport, I guess it's quite nice to have a fresh and fruity new track to enjoy.
Yeah, it's all about Las Vegas and Formula One this weekend, and there's no question that the interest in the sport has been enhanced this weekend as a result of being in this city, and that's what this race is all about. It's about making Formula One bigger around the world, but particularly in America, and it's about making money, lots and lots of money, and I can tell you, people are spending lots of money here. Some of the numbers that are being bandied around for the corporate entertainment packages, both at the track and in the city, are, eye-watering. But do you know what? Some of them almost seem like good value. I went to the there's a sort of Bellagio Hotel has a thing called the Fountains Club. You pay $11,247 for 3 days, sitting on the strip with the Bellagio fountains behind you, and the view there is absolutely awe-inspiring. It absolutely blew me away. I don't have $11,247 to spend on that sort of thing, but for the people who do, it's almost like it almost felt like good value standing there, and that's what this race is about. It's about making Formula One and enhancing its image in somewhere unique around the world.
I'm glad you enjoyed your time, and I'm glad you've come back to join us for the commentary of this first practice session. But I think it's also about making Formula One accessible. As I stand here in the pit lane with the cars heading out, that's Carlos Sainz, you can hear in the Ferrari, in a new liveried Ferrari, just heading out down the pit lane. As I look across the start-finish straight, it is not full in the grandstand by any means, and you do want this sport to be accessible. I know we're in a very glitzy and glamorous place, Las Vegas, but we want the seats to be filled. And out goes Sergio Perez, out goes Lewis Hamilton. Cars are out on track. I'm going to hand it over to you, Jolyon, because this is exciting. Everyone's going to want to get as much track time as possible. So many unknowns. We've got a lot of question marks. Hopefully we'll get some answers in the next 60 minutes.
Indeed, we've got a flurry of cars, understandably heading straight out onto this one then. We've got 58 minutes, 35, 34, 33 seconds on the clock for this 1 hour FP1 session. And it is busy out there. More cars trundling out of the pit lane. Valtteri Bottas is the first driver down the strip in the Alfa Romeo. He's got one corner to go, or one sequence to go, before he'll light it up for a flying lap around this place. As the champion heads out of the pits as well, Max Verstappen coming out. And the pit lane exit here kind of filters straight onto the racing line as well, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on through the weekend. The first corner is a very tight left-hander, then it brings you back round to the left-hand side. Turn 2, an extension of that, then you're into turn 3, and the first of the long straights around this lap. And Alice, drivers saying it's not particularly technical, but what I'm seeing straight away is that they're struggling for a little bit of grip right now.
Yeah, they are, and in typical street circuit fashion as well, dust being kicked off with cars sort of jostling for position. But yeah, even though if you look at the map and you go, okay, well, there's a lot of long straights, it's still going to be tricky with the temperatures to maintain that tyre temperature. And also when the heavy braking zones as well, you're running low downforce, and if you don't have the tyre temperature, that's going to be quite tricky when you stamp on the brakes, for example, into turn 15, into turn 12, then into turn 1. So even though when, like you said, look at the map, well, as we're looking at the cars at the moment, I think it will be technical, and it's a street circuit, so we don't know where the bumps are. Okay, I think they've resurfaced majority of it, but you know, can you really get out of all the bumps? I don't think so.
Yeah, so it is going to be a real step into the unknown for everyone. Verstappen now flies up towards 200 miles per hour, sparking in the Red Bull, with Caesar's Palace on his right-hand side as he hits the brakes for the final couple of corners. He slows down and he'll give himself a little bit of a space to start a flying lap. But this is darkness in Vegas. We are at just past 8:30 local time. We've been in the darkness for 3 hours already. The track is illuminated. It looks kind of Singapore style at the moment. Flyovers around, bridges that have been constructed for this race as well. A lot of investment has gone in from Formula One and from Las Vegas as Verstappen starts a flying lap, and he's a little bit wide of the apex of the first corner. Here's George Russell.
Very low currently.
Russell saying the grip is very low currently. All cars out there, apart from the 2 Williams and Fernando Alonso, who's staying in and waiting for everyone else to clean up the track, because it does look pretty filthy.
Yeah, it certainly does. It was open on parts this morning when I went outside. Cars were driving past, and actually about, I would say, 5:30ish, they were actually putting the concrete barriers in place for shutting, and obviously you've got all of those sort of cranes and equipment still driving across the track. So as you said, the track evolution will be massive as Max Verstappen gets ever so close to the wall there. that is on the exit of turn 9 as he shoots through flat out turn 10 and 11, stamps on the brakes into turn 12, which is a very tricky braking zone, isn't it, by the looks of it? You're turning and braking at the same time. But even when they fly past our commentary box window, Jolyon, you can see the dust kicking up. So a good job, I would say. Alonso, maybe with his experience, thought, you know what, I'll just let them clean it a little bit for me.
Yeah, so it's 17 corners, this circuit. It's 6.2 kilometres long. It's quite long. It's quite fast. We're expecting the second highest speeds of the calendar. Only Monza, the Temple of Speed, will have higher top speeds than this city circuit. That's what the teams are predicting. They're getting their first real look at it right now, of course, 5 minutes into the session. And as they come past our commentary box, we're sitting outside the final corner at turn 17. It's quite narrow as well as they cross the line, and they are through in a flash. They're building up a lot of speed on this dusty, cold, slippery circuit. Charles Leclerc comes through and goes to the top of the times. Leclerc, Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris and Sainz, your top 5 for what it's worth right now, but it's not worth very much. There's 5.7 seconds separated between them.
Yeah.
So, Alice, 6.2 kilometres, 17 corners. First one is a left. Brings you back round into the next real corner, that's turn 3, a right-hander. Lengthy straight up to turn 5, and then you've got, I think, maybe the most technical sequence on the circuit. 6, 7, 8 and 9 all come at you pretty quickly around the MSG Sphere.
Yeah, no, I think it's tricky, and that's what people have sort of said, well, it looks boring, you've just got the long straights. But yeah, there is some technical corners. There's some parts of the sound you can hear is on board now with Lewis Hamilton as he makes his way around the circuit. He's tucked up behind, I think that is Sergio Perez, that's kicking sparks all the way out the back. Both of them have got DRS wide open. It's almost like we're getting a race as Hamilton pulls out of the slipstream. Does he look to go down the inside? No, he doesn't. But yeah, some bits are quite narrow, aren't they? Especially when they were coming through that section of 12, you get that slightly wrong, just carry a little bit too much speed through the exit of 12, and the barrier's there. So there are areas of this circuit which could quite quickly, especially when you've got the soft tyres on in qualifying and you're pushing to get every single inch of lap time out of the car, that could creep up on you quite quickly. Yeah,
there's certainly a few crucial corners on this one. Turn 12 is one that comes just after Sands Avenue, sweeping through turns 10 and 11. Rosanna, Lance Stroll was out on track. He's just come back in the pits. What's going on?
An interesting one, Jolyon. He actually came through the pits earlier on, a couple of laps ago, went back out, and then he's come in and been wheeled back into the garage. No sooner had he got into the garage, Fernando went out. So Aston Martin obviously got 2 cars to deal with, as all the teams have, but running a different sort of run plan for both their drivers. And perhaps it was Fernando who wanted to stay and wait for the track to clean up a little bit. But we've only had a few minutes, so it's not like it's going to have cleaned up massively. But yes, he was one of the late comers to the track. His teammate Lance Stroll now safely stowed in the garage.
So 15 cars out on circuit at the moment. The 2 McLarens back in as well. Sargent is in the pits. We've got a yellow flag out in the final sector, and I cannot see why. It's somewhere down the strip that there's been a problem. This is the sound of Lando Norris. It's slowing his McLaren down, trying to find a turn-in point for turn 7. And just taking a load of curb, so that's not going to be the cause of the yellow flag, but we have got a caution out there at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but he's taken a lot of curb, hasn't he, Lando? Almost trying to take the shortest route as he kicks up a load of paint. But just looking on our screens, Carlos Sainz has stopped. Yeah, he has stopped. Yellow flags are out, and a red flag is now deployed, Jolyon.
So Sainz has pulled over. The Ferrari has come to a halt towards the end of the Las Vegas Strip then. He's parked pretty much opposite Caesar's Palace, and he'll be very disappointed at that right now. The man that didn't get a track walk in yesterday has just done a couple of laps, and he is stationary in his Ferrari. So the red flag is out. Everyone will now come back to the pits, and this is nightmare stuff for Carlos Sainz. Ferrari team thinking they've got a sniff here. This is a circuit that's similar to Monza in speed. It's similar to Singapore in terms of street and night race, where Sainz, of course, won. But in the first 10 minutes, he is our first stoppage. And we don't know yet what's happened, but clearly a reliability concern for Sainz as the rest of the cars pull in.
Yeah, luckily for him, it's not a sprint weekend. So he does get another couple of practice sessions, one later on today, of course, and then one tomorrow before qualifying. But that's not the way you want to start your weekend, is it? And especially for Ferrari. And I said it last weekend, or a couple of weekends ago, sorry, at the Brazilian Grand Prix, just even when they're quick, something seems to go wrong for Ferrari. Obviously, we don't know if they're going to be quick this weekend. They feel that they might have a good chance. But look at Charles in Sao Paulo. Good starting position. And then, of course, something goes wrong. So Carlos Sainz is now climbing out of the car. And we wait to find out what the issue is.
A lot of reliability concerns coming in for Ferrari. Leclerc didn't start the race last time out, as you said, and that's now Sainz out at this first session. Normally, in a free practice, drivers can get over it. We've seen in Mexico, just a couple of rounds ago, a lot of drivers sacrificing their first practice session, including Carlos Sainz, who gave way for the reserve drivers to have a look in. But this time, this is not what he needs on a circuit when he wants to get out there, as everyone does, and learn what it's all about. He's parked in the glamour zone of this really spectacular-looking Las Vegas circuit, and everyone else now can filter into it. It's taking a long time for them all to come round as well. 6.2 kilometres, slowing down, and they'll get a first chance to debrief. So the order, we've had 15 cars do a lap right now as Sainz trudges away in the Ferrari. He's parked at a nice gap, so hopefully we'll get going again quite soon. Parked responsibly as Sainz, as he looks back. No marshals out there helping him clear the car just yet. But the order is his teammate Charles Leclerc at the top of the times, then Hülkenberg and Magnussen in the two Haas cars, Verstappen, Ocon, Russell, Sainz, Tsunoda, Perez and Bottas, your top 10. Then it's Gasly, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Zhou and Norris. No time for Stroll, Piastri, Albon, Alonso or Sargent. Rosanna, neither Aston Martin out there yet.
And I mentioned earlier on, Jolien, that Lance Stroll had come in, gone through the pit lane, gone out again, and then been brought back into the garage. He's actually been out of the car for a short while, but that's all part of the plan, according to the team. He needed to have an aero rake, so a little bit of furniture that's added to the car for testing, taken off, and that was all part of their run plan, and they're just making a little setup change. And actually, I'm standing outside Lance's garage at Aston Martin now. He's just jumped back into the cockpit of his Aston Martin, and he's just being belted and got back into the car safely. So he's going to get back out there as soon as the session gets underway. I'm going to head down to Ferrari and see if I can ascertain the reason as to why Carlos Sainz has stopped out on track.
We're waiting for a replay as well of the Ferrari that ground to a halt somewhere. A lot of work going on down at Esteban Ocon's car in the Alpine garage, and Ocon has jumped out of the car as well, so that looks a little bit unplanned at the moment for Alpine. But with the red flag, they're not losing out at the moment on any running. 47 minutes and 24, 23, 22 seconds left on the clock. Big cheers from the crowd, and they'll have had a great shot of it from the Bellagio there. Big Dog Benson, if you were still there where you were earlier on, you might have seen a Ferrari coming to a halt near you.
He'd have been parked right outside, wouldn't he, Jolien? Yeah. He wasn't there when the fountains were going off, though, so he didn't get that view. So
a nice sprinkling.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the show of Vegas. So this is a big talking point, and Rosanna mentioned it at the top of this show, top of the session. Max Verstappen saying 99% show, 1% race event. Where do you sit on this?
Well, it's hard to put a number on it, isn't it? But I think Verstappen's not far wrong, is he? Let's be honest. Fundamentally, this race, I mean, you can drill it down to one thing. It's about the money shot. Lap one, the whole field coming down the strip. That whole image from the sky. The photographers are fighting to find the vantage point for that shot. I guarantee you that shot will be used on television. You know, it's going to go all over the world on Saturday into Sunday, sorry. Races on Saturday night here in Las Vegas time. As we're just watching a replay of Carlos Sainz running down the strip and the car just shutting off. Yeah, what did you hear there, Jolien and Alice?
He's just lost power, hasn't he?
Yeah, he lost power. But it lost it as he was really bouncing over those bumps down that straight there. But yeah, he's got a warning on the steering wheel. Stop car. stop engine. So that's when you get that, that's never good.
It sounded like there was a crunch moment, didn't it, for Sainz? He was accelerating normally down the strip. It's 1.9 kilometres, just shy of 2 kilometres, a flat-out stretch, which is really huge. That's why we're on trimmed-out downforce. And maybe just a bump there for the Ferrari. I've seen it being it's a little bit bumpy. It's the classic street circuit. We haven't seen huge issues for others yet there, but that was the issue for Sainz. Certainly looks like a power unit issue. So the iconic shot is why we're here for the strip. Yeah,
I mean, not just that, but if you wanted to encapsulate it in one image, that would be it. And as we were saying at the top of the show, it's about promoting Formula One around the world, and you have to, this race has been 40 years in the making, pretty much. There was a race in the Caesars Palace parking lot in 1981 and 1982. It wasn't a success. Ever since then, periodically, first Bernie Ecclestone tried to get a race on the strip, off the ground, all that time, basically. I remember through the mid-90s, I was speaking to a guy over here in Vegas called Tommy Baker, who was the putative promoter of the race at that time, and he was always confident in true Las Vegas showman style that he would get the race on the strip off the ground. But in the end, it always founded on the fact that the casinos wouldn't let it happen. They refused to let the strip be shut. It was too big a hit for them commercially. The ground here in Las Vegas has changed a bit in the last few years. They're trying to become, as well as a huge entertainment centre, they're trying to become a huge global sporting centre as well. They've got an NFL team here now, NHL team. They're going to have the Super Bowl next year. And this race is part of that drive. In a way, you could almost say they're going head-to-head with Saudi Arabia for that kind of sporting position around the world. And Formula One has convinced them that they can make money out of this race. And as you walk around, yesterday I went on a tour of all the corporate facilities that Formula One have got around the circuit here.
You've really been around the hospitalities, haven't you? The last couple of days.
I think we need Benny to be our tour guide, don't we?
But this is, and then today, as I was saying earlier, I went to the Fountain Club at the Bellagio. But this is the point. That's what this race is about. It's about corporate guests spending obscene amounts of money and pouring that money into the coffers of the casinos primarily, and Formula One. Now, Formula One have lost money so far. They've spent £500 million building the pit complex. They've had a bit of an oversight, which has bit them on the bum a bit by not putting a media centre in there, which they're going to change for next year. And the rest of the track facilities, they've repaved the strip. Obviously, the track itself, all around the 6-point-something kilometre tracks had to be resurfaced. We were just watching the fountains at the Bellagio going off, by the way, and as I say, it is a truly spectacular sight. But it's about the money and about the show, and there's a race at the centrepiece of that. And of course, they hope the race is going to be good. And Formula One, it's going to take this race some time for Formula One to make that money back. Someone who's quite well informed but didn't want to be quoted and wasn't 100% certain, but I was talking to earlier, someone who's linked to Formula One told me that it's going to take them, they need 3 years of this race to make back their investment before they can start making a profit at Formula One. But they've got permission. It's a 3-year contract initially. They've got 10 years of the race date being freed up for them by the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is basically like the tourist authority here. So it looks like they're going to be able to make that money back. And once they're broken even, they expect to then make a profit. So yes, it's about money, but the sport is a business like any sport, and it's just one race. And if it grows, you could argue, if it grows, some people will be offended by it. There's no question. Max Verstappen's one of them. But if it grows to sport globally over that period, then you can argue they're doing the right thing.
And I've got a question. We're under red flag conditions still. So Sainz's car it looked like it had been removed, but they're
cleaning up. There was a spillage, so it's dropped something. So the marshals were just putting the sand down to soak up the spillage.
So Charles Leclerc jumped out of the car. The drivers now have been 10 minutes now under red flag conditions, all missing out a bit of track time, but hopefully we'll be going again soon. It's one thing saying it's all about the show because it's Vegas and it's iconic, but I'm looking at it from a driver's point of view. the track looks like it could provide some good racing. We're in difficult conditions. It's very sandy, dusty at the moment with a track that's never been run on in any sort of speed. And 6.2 kilometres is big. It's not Mickey Mouse like the Caesars Palace Grand Prix that we had before. And there should be chances to overtake. 2 DRS zones, a whopping long straight that Sainz's Ferrari is now being brought back on from through the final corner, and he'll complete his lap, and we're going to be going again very shortly. But I don't see why the negativity seems like is aimed at the Razzmatazz, because we don't know that this is not actually a great race yet, do we?
It could easily be, couldn't it? I mean, low grip, night race, walls close by. It could be a safety car crash fest with a whole load of crazy restarts.
It's sort of Jeddah meets a Baku.
Yeah, exactly. With a bit of not Singapore thrown in, although the images of the race that we've just seen so far in the sort of first 20 minutes of the session or so, they were quite reminiscent of Singapore in some ways. And yet then you've got the oh gosh, the session won't be resumed. I wonder what on earth's that about.
So that's dramatic then. The session is done. We're done with FP1. I wonder if there was something when there was a fracas of FIA people. There was a lot of inspection going on where Sainz had pulled off. I wonder if they found something on the circuit that may have caused Sainz's instant failure then of his looked like to be the Ferrari power unit. And there's a lot of activity down there on the track on the Las Vegas Strip, Rosanna.
There's a lot of activity in the Alpine garage, which doesn't seem relevant, but actually Esteban Ocon's car has been up on the highest jacks in the garage for quite some time now. The car's been stripped down. He's had some floor damage, which makes me think that this is really punishing on the Formula One cars, this track, and so perhaps that might be one of the reasons why the session has been stopped. So a lot of damage going on the Alpine, waiting to hear from Ferrari as to whether it was a bump that caused the car to shut down for Carlos Sainz. But yeah, this is worrying times. We've got fans in the grandstand opposite me here in the pit lane wanting to see this show that we've been talking about, this spectacle, this racing spectacle. They're not going to get anything right now. We've got obviously another practice session to come later on, but how long is this problem going to take to fix?
Well, they've obviously stopped this and they've canned it, so there's no chance. There was 50 minutes left on the clock. We'd only done 9 minutes worth of running here, and it has emerged a fundamental problem with the track surface somewhere that has caused the Ferrari to expire, and it's just been finally brought back 3-point turned around just in front of our commentary box window, and it will back its way up the pit lane, and Ferrari can get working on that because they need to get that fixed for the session later on, and that'll be no quick turnaround either for Sainz to get some laps in today. But what about the circuit then? This is where we don't know yet what has happened. Is it a bump that's too big? Is it a manhole cover? In Baku we had a similar situation to this a few years ago. It was a loose manhole cover and it ruined George Russell's Williams, and the session was abandoned very quickly, and there was changes made and FP2 carried on faultlessly. But this is obviously a bit of a headache. Fred Vasseur literally wiping his brow there on the pit wall, and the Ferrari team principal is going to be deeply concerned. One of his team's cars is stranded, and this is not ideal for anyone.
No, and it's not a good look. Obviously, it's a new circuit, and these cars produce so much downforce. Okay, you can send out the safety car and it can pound round and round and round all day. But when you send an F1 car out that can produce so much downforce, almost suck stuff, as you mentioned, the George Russell incident in Baku with the manhole cover, then that's dangerous, and it can also cause these failures. So they're clearly checking the track. It looked like to me they were putting some kind of dust down, which usually then you're off straight away, but clearly there is some other kind of problem, and it's a shame for sort of the fans as well that have come and trekked. I know many that have come from the UK. There's quite a lot of people that have come over from the UK in the hospitalities or in the grandstands that are waiting for the track to be sorted.
There's an issue with a drain cover, the FIA have just said. That's the reason for what they've described as a current delay, but it's obviously more than a delay. The session's been cancelled. So yes, you are absolutely right, you two. It's a loose drain cover.
And that is what we've seen before in mitigation for Vegas. I'm surprised that that wasn't checked before. We've had it in Monaco before where a drain cover's come loose and there's been a real danger. We've had the issue in Baku before. The street circuits, I guess, this area's so big and they're welded down, but maybe with the speed of the cars down the strip, that's just come undone, and the ground effects has literally just sucked up the drain cover, maybe?
Yeah, because they had to weld the one down, didn't they? And it looks like Christian Horner's gone over to Fred Vasseur and clearly asked, well, what happened? What's the problem? But I'm guessing Carlos has gone over that drain cover, and it did look, I said it looked like it was bouncing quite a lot, and it's clearly sucked the drain cover up, and it's destroyed something. So not ideal. But Rosanna, what news have you got for us down there?
Well, Christian Horner, who's actually celebrating his birthday today, doesn't look like he's having a very happy birthday. He has just been over, as you said, to talk to Fred Vasseur, the Ferrari team principal, and he's now walked across the pit lane through the sort of garage part, and he's talking to the engineers at the back of the Red Bull garage. So he's obviously going to debrief them. Dr. Helmut Marko is there as well in the group huddle. But this is a real strange one. It's so difficult, isn't it? Putting on a Formula One race. I think this is what we don't realise. So much goes into setting up a venue like this. We've spoken about the hype, the show, the spectacle, and something simple like a manhole cover coming loose can just derail the whole thing.
I have to say, for all I'm excited about this race. I think generally this is a very exciting venue. We're in the penultimate round of the season. The season is finished. Verstappen and Red Bull have won almost everything. But there's still a bubble of negativity that we were speaking about. And this sort of incident in the first 10 minutes doesn't help to establish the foothold of the weekend, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I'm totally with you. I'm looking forward to getting the cars on track and seeing the action and seeing what was going on. Because, like I say, unpredictable weekend. But, it's not a good look for Vegas, but it's not the first time, has it? We've had, as you said, problems at Baku, problems at Monaco, and they're making the track repairs as we speak. So hopefully that's all sorted for FP2, Jolien.
So the FIA are saying that they're not going to resume the session, as it's going to take time to understand the issue and take any necessary actions to remedy it. Meanwhile, Ferrari say they just still don't know what happened with Carlos Sainz's car. They've got to wait for the car to come back.
I wonder if Ocon, who had a very damaged floor, has picked something up, and then Sainz has rammed it at really high speed. And remember, these cars are kissing the ground already, to the point that Ferrari got excluded for plank wear a couple of races ago. And if he's just crunched over a bit of metal, that would be a catastrophic failure. But there is time now for Ferrari to get the diagnosis. They will finally Sainz's car back in. Session won't be resumed. And what's this, time for an early dinner?
Yeah, let's go. Well, I tell you what, Benny knows where to go. He's been around the whole strip of Vegas, so maybe
we're all off to Bologna.
That's exactly where we'll be off to, I'm sure. Jolien, you're right. Carlos Sainz's car has been brought back. It's just been wheeled into his garage at Ferrari, and the boards have gone up, so we aren't going to be able to spy on what goes on. The car was under a black wrap, the mechanics receiving it from the pit-in area and wheeling it back down, so a lot of work will be going on. But as you said, Fred Vasseur wiping his brow, looking fairly stressed. This is a really interesting one, but I mean, if we look at the times that were set, looked all right. Charles Leclerc at the top, if we had to stop things as they were. But did we learn anything about this track? What you've seen so far, do you like, minus this manhole cover?
Well, let's just park that question for a minute, Rosanna, because we just heard information from Alpine as well. Jolien, you're absolutely right. The chassis on Ocon's car will be changed because of damage from a suspected drain cover on the track.
Wow.
Oof, that's not good.
So that's a day's work for Alpine. If FP2 will start as it's scheduled to start in 3 hours' time from now, that car will not be participating, and quite well the Ferrari of Sainz won't be participating either. So, hey, we didn't see a lot of the track, but the two teams will be really, really cursing their luck with this, because this is a new circuit. It's maybe not the most technical, but it looks slippery. The street circuits like this, you've got to build your way up. And for Ocon and Sainz, they look like they've been extremely unlucky. And for the race organisers here, they've got a real head scratcher to work out what they're going to do. This is not a good scenario.
and a lot of the teams have already got their cars jacked right up, and a lot of the mechanics are underneath having a look. I'm just standing outside the Mercedes team. They're underneath the car having a check on Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes. So I think there's going to be a lot of checking to ensure that nothing is missed, that if there is floor damage, they spot it immediately. If there's a chassis crack or something like that, they need to be really hot on that as well, because of course we've got a second session coming our way later on. We've got a very strange timetable. We've been talking about going for dinner here. It is local time, it's 9 o'clock, but hopefully we'll be able to get underway for the second practice session, which will feel like the first, of course, because we didn't get much of that one. Hopefully you'll join us for that. It should kick off local time at midnight, so 8 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully you can set your alarm and join Andrew Benson, Alice Powell, Jolyon Palmer, myself, Rosanna Tennant then. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.